Welcome to Dodgers Daily. Casey Porter here. Dodgers Dawgs is part of the Dodgers Daily Network, joined by Mark Watkins, as we are each and every Thursday. Mark, it's been a really interesting start to the season. All the excitement with Kyle Tucker, with Edwin Diaz, with all the ring ceremonies, just all the fun as far as winning back-to-back. And then the Dodgers are 4-2, right? So, it's not like they're not winning games, but yet the offense is dead right now. So, kind of a weird time. Of course, way, way, way too early to draw any inferences, but still kind of a weird time to look back on and trying to figure out what's going on with the Dodgers right now.
Yeah, it has been a weird start. It's been exciting, the way, as you mentioned with the ring ceremony and everything, and the new players coming on, Diaz and Tucker, and seeing some of the other guys. But yeah, it's definitely an unusual start, and I feel like they're not even close to playing their best ball. Obviously, they haven't been hitting very well at all, but they're still winning games. So that's the good part about it, So.
Okay, let me say this. Gavin Williams is electric. He sat 97. For a starter to sit 97, he's 97, 98, 99. He could touch 100. He is absolutely electric. There's just no denying that. The curveball was a big-time pitch. We'll get into all that kind of the way that he beat the Dodgers last night. The sweeper is definitely a swing and miss pitch. Gavin Williams is awesome. I don't want to take any credit away from him, and we'll give him his credit here in a minute, like I said. But, hey, man, the Dodgers went and got Shohei Ohtani. They went and got Kyle Tucker, the best offensive free agent on the market. Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts. They went and got a lineup that no matter how good the pitcher is, it should never look as inept as it was last night, right? Especially 13 strikeouts. And it wasn't just, the not scoring. The Dodgers just did not look competitive, and they did a whole lot of things that creates failure offensively. So while Gavin Williams was awesome, still you have to be disappointed that the Dodgers built an offense that should be able to, at least at a better clip, match great pitching, unlike they did last night, in my opinion.
Well, I think there's something to that where they're not really clicking on all cylinders yet. They're not really in their offensive flow, so to speak. But, as they say, good pitching beats good hitting anytime. And I think in the beginning of the season, the pitchers are ahead of the hitters at this point. So that factors into it too. But from their an offensive game plan, it wasn't really there last night. I would say there's something to that. They could have taken advantage of more opportunities and made him pitch a little differently and a little more. Just work him a little harder, so to speak. Yeah. They tend to do that, and they didn't do that nearly as much last night as they have in past years.
And that's because Gavin Williams flipped the script on the Dodgers. So I would say if there was one legitimate complaint from a game plan perspective from the Dodgers offense, even in the two world champions, because even if you win, that doesn't mean that there's not improvement to be made. If you're not trying to improve yourself and figure out, hey, how can I get better, then you're going to get worse. You're not going to stay the same, and then people are going to catch up to you. So, hey, yes, the Dodgers have won back-to-back world championships. That's awesome, but there's still always somewhere in some way to improve. So I give that context to bring this point in, and that is, I think if there's one, and even in the last, I would say go all the way back to the last decade, I think that there's one criticism in terms of game planning for the Dodgers. It's that they like to take pitches, they like to grind at bats, they like to do their thing, they like to draw walks, they like to find the right pitch to hit, that kind of thing, which is a good overall philosophy, but there are times to where I think the Dodgers are very slow to make in-game adjustments, if you will, like, hey, our game plan coming in, our overall game plan as an organization isn't working. It's the fourth inning, we're dead, this guy's mowing us down. Let's make a change and let's get more aggressive early in the count and try to ambush some fastballs. To kind of give you an example of that. So one thing that beats the Dodgers is getting ahead in the count. Beats everybody. Gavin Williams threw first pitch strike, mainly with his fastball, 75% of the time. And the Dodgers just kind of let him do that, which meant they let him get ahead in the count, which meant they let him dictate the way the game went. So I would say, not just last night, this isn't an overreaction. I would say this goes back as far as a decade. Where I'm really disappointed is I just didn't think the Dodgers pivoted away from, okay, well, what we normally do isn't working. Let's do something different.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think there's some truth to what you say there. One thing about the Dodgers is they're the type of team that relies on the home run a lot. And that kind of comes back to bite them sometimes. They don't have like the speed guys who get on base and disrupt the pitcher and that kind of thing. The kind of baseball that I grew up watching in the 80s and such, and the players, the kind of the St. Louis Cardinals type of thing, where they would get on base, disrupt the pitcher, steal bases, hit and run, etc., or bunt for base hits, that kind of thing. The Dodgers, when they're struggling, it just seems like their game plan isn't there, because they don't do those kind of things. They don't change things up, and they don't have that other element where they can affect pitchers that way. I've always felt like they just, like you said, it's just like they're sitting back and waiting for the 3-run home run in a way.
It just feels like the Dodgers have what they do. This is what we did. And obviously they have great talent and they've won back-to-back. So me sitting here and having any kind of negative narrative is certainly a overreaction. But kind of what I'm saying is it's not an overreaction, because I think this is an overarching thing where the Dodgers could do better in making in-game adjustments. What that allowed them to do is, when you get ahead in the count, then when a guy throws at 97 to 98 and he has a sweeper and a curveball, then at that point you're kind of at his mercy. And then whenever he throws those off-speed pitches that look like a strike all the way to the plate, and they dive out of the zone, you're going to chase them. Even if you're the Dodgers, the best team at not chasing balls out of the zone, you're going to have to, because you're down the count. And because of that, the Dodgers just chased one curveball after the other last night. If you can tell, I'm a little bit frustrated. Not frustrated that the offense isn't, hey, 6 games or whatever. Just frustrated. I just felt like from a coaching perspective, the plan was bad to begin with. The execution was worse. And chasing the curveball, I think, happened because the Dodgers let Gavin Williams get ahead in the count so much. And then it's also uncharacteristic of them.
Right. Yeah. I see what you're saying. And, sometimes you do have to change things up. If a guy's, throwing a first pitch fastball strike, constantly, then you got to go out of your normal zone and start changing things up and going after that first pitch. But do you think that his fastball was just that good where they didn't want to swing at it on the first pitch? I
just don't think the Dodgers like making early outs in the count. I think they like getting what we call getting into the books. In college, a lot of times, not as much nowadays, but the relief pitchers, they would give, there was like 11 and a half scholarships that Division I colleges could give out. And so your relief pitchers sometimes weren't even on scholarship. The only thing that you could pay for them was their books. So there's a saying in college, hey, get into the books, which means grind pitch counts, get the starting pitcher out of the game, and get into the bullpen as fast as you can. It's a plan that works. But there are times where a guy is too electric, his secondary stuff is too good, and you got to say, hey, guys, we've got to hit our way to winning this game. That's kind of, the last of bat from Alex Freeland. That would be my advice there, is that you can't just try to walk every time up at the plate there. I think you should have been a little bit more aggressive there and protect yourself. There's times where you got to go, hey, we got to hit our way to win this game, and the best way to do that is to ambush the early fastballs. And so then this isn't necessarily as much of a complaint about last night. It's more of a, hey, when this happens in the future, or the 100 times it's happened in the last 10 years or whatever, let's make that adjustment and let's get better in that perspective. Because again, even though we're 4-2, which is fantastic, even though you've won back-to-back world championships, I'm going to say it again, you always still need to be looking for ways to get better, and that would be my advice.
Right. I guess to an extent, there's something to be said for making a pitcher throw more pitches and getting him out after 5 innings, if he's pitching that well. But I see your point. They do. There are times definitely when they need to change things up and, have a different attack, a plan of attack. So different game plan. And last night seemed to be one of those nights for sure.
Yeah. So all the pomp and circumstance, you're in California. It's been a big hoopla, okay? You have an older roster. I'm not getting ready to make excuses at all. I'm giving kind of scenarios and fixes and reasons and possible, outcomes in the future. So, you play Game 7 of the World Series. So, first of all, your offseason is shorter than everybody else, other than Toronto. You have a little bit older roster. You've been doing this, making the playoffs and going deep in the playoffs for over a decade. And again, with a little bit older roster, okay, you have all the ring ceremonies. You have the hoopla between Edwin Diaz and Kyle Tucker signing. You've got all, you have the World Baseball Classic with people splitting their different ways. You've got all of these things that have created a million different distractions. And I know Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, all these guys, total pros, no doubt about it, but they're still human. So this hoopla, nobody will be able to convince me hasn't played a factor. And so I say that to say, Mark, and I'll let you give your comments on this. I found it interesting in Dave's press conference today. He mentioned, hey, we're going to get on the road and settle down. Usually it's the other way around. Usually it's hey, we're going to come home, we're going to get comfortable, we're going to settle down. So what he meant by that was we're going to get away from the circus that is Los Angeles right now and all the ring ceremonies and all this circus atmosphere. We're going to get on the road. We're going to get in a hotel together. That's going to galvanize us and bring us, in a weird way, even though it's on the road, bring us some normalcy. I think that's what you heard from Dave today, and I thought that was very interesting and telling of him.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. I hadn't really thought about that, but yeah, there's so much going on. As you mentioned, this spring has been different than many others. Obviously, but they did have a shorter off season, the WBC and the ring ceremony and everything that's going on. I'm sure is kind of weighing on them emotionally, if nothing else. I could see where that could happen, where they get on the road and get away from all those distractions and kind of, come together more as a team and start playing more serious ball, I guess.
Okay,
and
let's back.
I mean, they're 4-2, so it's not like they're doing that bad. But they're as you said, there's always room for improvement.
Yeah, that's just how talented this team is. That even though there's parts, of course, the pitching's been fantastic, and pitching, great defense, and timely hitting have won games since Abner Doubleday created this wonderful sport, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so let's back up. I've dominated this. It's been my narrative dominating this to this point. 4-2, spring training, the beginning to this season. Tell me where Mark Watkins is at with this, with the Dodgers start here.
Well, I mean, I think it's a decent start. It feels like in past seasons they've gotten off to a slow start, and it's not atypical. As I said, like the pitchers are generally ahead of the hitters, and thankfully their pitchers, for the most part, have been pitching well, even though their offense is struggling. So. Obviously they have to make some adjustments, trying to win back to back is going to be incredibly hard. It gets harder every year.
Very hard.
Everybody's going to be gunning for them this year, of course. And, they've been fortunate. They have mostly avoided major injuries, the last couple of years. So hopefully that'll hold true this year. You always think about that when guys are getting older. They've had Freeman has had his share of more injuries the last couple of years. And then Muncy obviously has had some injuries and some other guys. So as the team gets older, you do worry about that a little bit more, but, they have a great nucleus. You just wonder how long they can keep this kind of dynasty going, I guess. Yeah.
I think with Mookie Betts, I'm going to say it point blank. I'm worried about his offense. I think there's a chance that we never see the Mookie that we became accustomed to, the MVP type Mookie offensively. I think there's a chance that the Mookie we see offensively right now is just kind of the Mookie that we're going to see from now on. So then that puts a premium on his defense. So to you, with the trade-off as far as if the offense never goes back, but the defense at shortstop is fantastic, where are you at with that trade-off?
Well, I still think he's going to be an above average offensive player, and if he plays outstanding defense, then, that I think it's a decent trade-off. I don't think them just switching, if, for instance, if they were to switch him back to right field, his offense would immediately perk up again. I think it's, there are other factors involved. But last year, I know, he had that sickness at the beginning of the year, and that really curtailed him. I think for half of the year last year, he did hit much better in the second half. So, as you mentioned, I don't know if he's ever going to get back to MVP type Mookie, and that could also be a little bit of a factor of age too. But I think I think he'll have a decent offensive season, even if not an MVP type year.
Yeah. Last night just kind of was that Dodgers fan PTSD game, because it's like, okay, well, we're not hitting like last year. Tanner Scott's giving up home runs like last year, and it just kind of, as a Dodgers fan, you kind of went to bed after that game going, man, this is like the post-traumatic stress syndrome that we had from all the things that, now again, you win the World Series, so all that goes away when that happens, but you just kind of had all those flashbacks to all the things last year that scared you to death that might be the reasons why you don't win the World Series. So last year was kind of a tough one as a fan. At least it was for me. And this is the off day type thing. So like on an off day, I say all the time after a win, I'm going to spend all day enjoying this win. I ain't even going to think about anything in the future, that kind of deal. On the opposite, I'm kind of spending this whole day kind of crying in my beer, if you will, and just sulking for myself. And I'll wake up tomorrow, I'll be ready to go for the next day, but I'm kind of taking that off day to get out some frustration here, if you do. And sometimes this show is therapy for me with frustration.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, it's last year was a roller coaster of a season, and there are always those points in the season where you start having a lot more doubts, than you do during other times during the season. But they're, as I said, they're 4-2, so I guess we can't complain too much. Or I'm not worried about them. I think they're still going to win close to 100 games. And
they're on pace to win 108 right now. That's pretty good.
Yeah, right. And they're not even playing that well, not hitting that well. So, Tanner Scott, he's definitely concerned. It'll be interesting to watch what he's able to do, because he looked really good at times in spring training again, but then not so good yesterday, obviously. Yeah. So he's going to be one they have to monitor closely.
Does anything about Kyle Tucker getting off to a slow start concern you? Like, oh man, this jump monkey's going to jump on his back, and he's never had a monkey like the limelight of Los Angeles. Is any part of that worry you?
No, it doesn't really worry me at all. He's been in the spotlight, even if it's not Los Angeles. He's an accomplished hitter and one of the best hitters in baseball. So I'm really not worried about it. I'm sure he'll come around. Yeah, Shohei's going through his struggles too, but I'm sure he's gonna rebound soon and start hitting well.
Well, the thing about it is it's a team for a reason. So if you're not hitting, you need to pitch and play defense. If you're not playing good defense, you need to hit better. If you're not pitching very well, then you need to hit better, that kind of thing. So it is a team aspect to this, and we've seen this roster is good enough for two of the three to execute well and still win games against playoff caliber teams. So I think that's the exciting part of that. What did you think about the outing last night for Yoshinobu Yamamoto? In some ways, for me, it was a grind. It showed just how great he is, because hey, what makes a great pitcher is not how they do when things are perfect. It's how do you grind through an outing when things aren't perfect, and that was Yamamoto last night for me.
Yeah, that's a great point. And getting back to like Gavin Williams, he had his night last night, but he's going to have a lot of struggles, a lot of games where he struggles, as opposed to Yamamoto. The great pitchers, they, even when they don't have their best stuff, and they're able to get through outings like that and only give up 2 runs in 6 innings like Yamamoto did. So that's what really sets the really good pitchers apart from the mediocre, not so good ones, is they're able to battle out there. And Yamamoto's kind of a warrior battle, and still have a good outing when they don't have their best stuff at their best command.
Good thing about it, I think, other than Tanner Scott last night, the bullpen, that was my biggest concern coming in. I think the offense will figure it out. Jack Dreyer has been fantastic. Really, Jack Dreyer has been fantastic dating back to like his last 13 outings of last year. Alex Vesia has been spotless. Blake Trinan threw a very spotless inning last night. Will Klein, I know he gave up a run, but I think he's inspired confidence in Dodgers fans. So I think, to me, the biggest question mark of any unit on the team was the bullpen. So I'm not worried about the offense. The starting pitching is going to be fine. The defense is going to be good enough, especially with Andy Pages getting that much better. Teo Hernandez moving to left. Kyle Tucker being an upgrade to Michael Conforto, no doubt about that. Mookie Betts, we have a mention here, throwing the javelin, throws to first base, look really good. You're going to get a Gold Glove guy back in Tommy Edman here before too long. Freddie Freeman's a Gold Glove guy. Not worried about the defense, even though the slow start, not worried about the offense. Certainly not worried about the starting pitching, even though Blake Snell is not available. It was the bullpen that was my concern. So in a lot of ways, hey, this has been an encouraging start to the season because the bullpen has shown to me that they're pitching well. That's made me feel good about things.
Yeah, I would agree with you. The bullpen was definitely my biggest concern, and so far, I mean, they're looking pretty good. It's interesting to me that the top two, I would say, other than Edwin Diaz, of course, the top two on the trust tree are both relievers now with Vesia, or left-handers, I should say, with Vesia and Dreyer. It seems like. Oh,
you think Dreyer's on the top of the trust tree, huh?
Well, I think he could be third, behind Diaz and Vesia, because
out of necessity,
Yeah, Trinan is still kind of a question mark at this point, and Klein, the same way, kind of a question mark. Tanner Scott is another lefty, obviously, but he's also a question mark. So
Kasperius question mark. Robo made himself a question mark last time out. Yeah,
right. So I mean, I trust personally, I trust Vesia and Dreyer more than any of them at this point, other than Diaz, of course. So yeah, as far as setup guys go. And that may change I'm hoping and praying we get the Trinan of old, pre-2025 Trinan, because if he comes back and pitches the way he did, that would be a huge boost for him. And then there's some other guys like Evan Phillips is rehabbing, get him back, and some of these other guys would really help out, obviously.
Yeah, Brock Stewart, Kyle Hurt, get Kyle Hurt's pitching well at AAA Oklahoma City, get him up there, maybe a River Ryan, get him added into the fold. So you have some depth coming, right? And then you have some good young guys too.
Yeah.
So not going to happen, but let's have a little bit of fun here. So, hey, things aren't, a lot of times a manager will shake the lineup up, not because necessarily they think it's a permanent fix, just to give the guys something new to look at, a new challenge maybe. So is there any argument to make, at least maybe even if it's just for a game or two? How about let's shake the lineup up? Let's move Shohei Ohtani down to the 3-hole. Let's put Mookie Betts at leadoff. Let's just kind of shake some things up and see if just them got the guy seeing something that looks different gets them going. Anything to that maybe for you?
I think it's a little premature to think about that, 6 games in, because, all the guys are kind of off to a little bit of a slow start, and they hit in those positions primarily last year and excelled in them. So, yeah, I think it's probably a little premature for that personally. I think maybe, if it continues for another, 5 or 7 days or something like that, it might be something they would consider.
There is a saying in baseball, and that it is, talk to me in June. So, hey, these are all, I don't want to say irrational, because my comments on the offense date back a decade in terms of not making in-game adjustments based on, getting away from the organizational philosophy of not liking to swing early in the count, unless you're Will Smith, obviously, and or, trying to grind pitch counts, that kind of thing. Not worried about the strikeout figures as long as they're, long at bats, that kind of thing, of which 13. So this isn't 13 last night. This isn't a, overreaction for me. Again, this goes back a decade in terms of, I think the Dodgers have needed to make better in-game adjustments there. But, hey, there's a saying in baseball, talk to me in June, which means, what that means is baseball is meant to have large sample sizes. And so until you have a sample size, as large enough that basically into the month of June, there's really nothing to evaluate and to make drastic changes off of. Would you agree with that?
I would, and I know there's another school of thought that you kind of break the season into thirds, In the first third, you kind of evaluate who's on your roster, and the second third, you kind of the second third of the season, you kind of make adjustments, and then the last third is you kind of, is a stretch run, and then when you really, hopefully have it all together and make a good run at the end of the season. So Yeah, I think the first third of the season, maybe into June, is a one where they're going to be evaluating guys and seeing what they need to do. I mean, their roster, their lineup and roster, I think, is pretty well set, but there are certain things that they may need to make some adjustments on as the season goes along, and obviously they'll have the inevitable injuries, which will be a factor as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the Oklahoma City's been playing all week, but give us your thoughts on what you're most excited about seeing out of the minor league action of all the other affiliates Tulsa starting tonight. Tell me what you're looking forward to as the minor league season for all of the affiliates get going.
Well, there's some of the guys that came up and played really well in spring training, like Tibbs. I'm super excited to see what he can do.
Let me get him up on the board as you talk about him here just for a second. Yeah. So talk about Tibbs and let me get the videos. There we go, right there. It's on the board. You can see it there, Mark. So tell us what you're excited about with James Tibbs.
Yeah, just the way he performed in spring training, he's looking very advanced. And the guys, you mentioned in one of your posts that he only has one season of pro ball so far. So it's easy to see why the Dodgers, were excited about getting him. So he's looking like a guy who could maybe step in even now and contribute at the major league level. So. And he's got a well-rounded game, so it's exciting, definitely exciting to see. He's got a great swing. Yeah.
Who else are you excited to see tonight or as we get started here?
Some of the other guys like DePaula and Josue DePaula and Zaire Hope, they started out, they were giving them, a lot of playing time early in spring training, and they performed well, and they kind of switched to like Zach Earhart is another guy I'm excited to see. Zach Earhart and James Tibbs were kind of the spring training darlings, so to speak, with the last couple of weeks of spring training, it seemed like. But all four of those guys, definitely exciting to see. And then you got guys like Mike Sirota, Emil Morales, who's I'm going to be excited to see in Ontario.
Yeah, he's gotten some good play, hasn't he? We need to get some credentials. They have not emailed me back about credentials. That's frustrating to me. But
right, yeah, I know these guys. I don't know if they're just that busy or what, but
all the other guys have gotten them, so I don't know what the deal is there. I don't know why the California crowd shuts out Dodgers Daily, but it's very frustrating. I can't get anybody from the Los Angeles Dodgers. It took us forever with the Quakes, and now I can't get anybody to respond from the Ontario Tower Buzzers. We're fully credentialed to Oklahoma City and Tulsa and Great Lakes and all that, and just the California crowd for some reason just never responds to Dodgers Daily. So that's kind of frustrating.
Yeah, it is. I have to keep working on that, and I'm sure we'll get in there eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited definitely to go out to see some of their games this year.
All right, man. Who else do you want to see coming up?
Well, let's see. Some of the young pitchers, obviously, in the minor leagues. Like some of the relievers, for instance, like Jerming Rosario is one you mentioned, and Carson Hobbs, and so yeah, there's quite a few guys on the pitching side too that'll be exciting to see.
All right, man. Again, it's going to be for the next 3 weeks. It's going to be very limited in time for me, so I actually have to get out of here. I know we've only been going on for about a half an hour, but that's all the time I have today. So, hey, Mark, do you have any final thoughts here on Dodgers Dawgs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network?
Just looking forward to the Dodgers, turning it around and getting it going offensively, and I'm sure that'll happen soon. We'll see, like you said, whether being on the road will bring that out of them, and hopefully they'll start hitting much better than they have been.
All right, appreciate it, brother. I want to thank all of you wonderful Dodgers Dogs. Thank you so much for your wonderful support, and as always, never forget, it's a great day to be a Dodger.